In the evolution of cities, we've come a long ways very fast.
We're 20, 30 minutes away from anywhere you want to be in LA County.
I've worked with a number of prominent cities, and I can assure you that we have the best mayor and city council and executive team in the country.
Andrew Siciliano,
Sam Farmer,
my good friend, off the field, if you will, but a guy I watch every time I'm at home. I'm just glued to Red Zone Channel, DIRECTV, and I think you do a spectacular job. I've been there. I've been in the studio. I've watched you do it, and I still don't know how you do it. I mean, it's a unique job. Was a unique job when you got it. You were the pioneer there. And it's remarkable. But tell me a little bit about that job.
Well, you're way too kind. Thank you for the kind words. And I'm going to give a standard cliched answer, but it is so very true that I could not do it. We could not do it without an amazing crew. And I know that sounds like I'm just going, give someone else the credit. We need a great crew. And you're juggling. I can't physically watch and process 10 games at once. So we have a control room that has been together for years and years and years, and I have spotters and researchers there who have been there for years. I mean, a lot of our crew has been there like 14, 15 of the 17 years. And we all kind of think with one brain, and we're able to figure out where to go. And the biggest thing for us is that if we have good games, we're going to have a good show, and we want to make sure that the viewer at home never does have to pick up his remote and never does miss anything of any significance. It started as, hence the name Red Zone Channel, a show where if somebody was in the red zone, we would go there maybe 20, 30, whatever, yard line. It is kind of morphed into these days like an instant action kind of show where I want to make sure you don't miss anything. So if there's a 4th and 1, if there's a record about to be broken, if there's anything of any significance that your friend may tell you about or that you may see on social media, we want to try to get that moment live. And if we don't get it live, we turn it around as quickly as possible. But it's honestly the greatest job a guy could ask for. Right before we started it and launched it, it certainly wasn't my idea. I would be like everyone else, sitting on the couch on Sunday with this group of friends and beer. Well, usually not beer, 10 a.m. start, coffee early, and then eventually beer in the afternoon. And I think if not for this job, I would probably still be doing that. And I'm pretty fortunate that I get to scream at the TVs, but do it as a job.
And it's dovetailed beautifully with the rise in popularity of fantasy football, sports betting, all those things. There's really no other way to consume the NFL and have it curated for you. So I wonder how those things have sort of helped the product.
I think it's certainly driven the growth. I like to say we didn't invent America's short attention span, but I think we came along right at the right time when everyone started getting a phone, long before tablets. But the idea that you can get the internet on your phone, that you could always get, and we started in 2005. So back then that was kind of, we still had flip phones and no one really had that kind of data capability in the palm of their hand. And it was before really social media had taken off. I think MySpace was around at that point. I don't remember when Facebook launched. But the idea that you might be missing something, the whole FOMO concept that we now live in, that anxiety that you're missing something, wasn't as bad then as it is now. And we just came along at the right time. And I think people have now, through fantasy football, kind of just learned to watch the game this way. And especially here, we had, 20-some years without a football team here. We have a whole generation. I think LA is a perfect example of young people in this city that grew up without a team. So they turned to fantasy football. And you have so many young people around the country where that's the only thing they like. Right? And they could hop on NFLshop.com and buy a Dalvin Cook jersey tomorrow if that guy happens to be their favorite player and they live in Orlando. And then we now have a channel where they can follow those guys as opposed to following the hometown team, or maybe the team, like I'm assuming you and I learned sports when we were kids. Our dad or our mom or our family would say, here, this is the team you're rooting for. This generation still has that, but it's totally, I think, been taken over by fantasy. And gambling's a whole nother thing. Like, I mean, watching NFL Honors last night, to think that Jimmy Kimmel was coming out there and making jokes about, I mean, that was pretty, I mean, we've gone 0 to 100 pretty fast from we can't talk about gambling whatsoever, can't even acknowledge that a team is a favorite a couple of years ago, to now making prop bet jokes on NFL Honors. I'm all for it. We just got there pretty fast. Yeah. And it remains to be seen how I think we would incorporate that into the Red Zone channel. We are more comfortable mentioning things now, but I'm not yet ready to go, let's go to Miami. The Dolphins are down 10, but the line is 4, right? Or the vice versa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's 12 seconds left. The game's over, but let's go there to see if they can hit the number. I'm not there yet, but I don't think that's too far away.
No, it's remarkable.
I mean, think about it. Like when fantasy football. So I started NFL Network 2011. A couple of years earlier, fantasy football was banned for network employees. It was gambling. You literally couldn't do it. In 2003, at Fox Sports Net, when we launched a fantasy channel, you could not use, as a rights holder, moving pictures because you only use stills because live video or video replay was banned for gambling channels or gambling shows, and the league deemed the ultimate fantasy football show with Warren Moon, Patrick O'Neill, Eric Kramer, and yours truly as a gambling show.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do not recall that, but that's amazing.
No one recalls that show.
Yeah.
Except my mom.
Tell me the preparation that goes into a typical Sunday, because you're so good, so nimble, and glib in a situation where you're landing 10 planes at once. And again, you know, your staff, the production crew are so instrumental in this, but what kind of preparation goes on during the week?
I'm very fortunate in that my day job, for lack of a better description, which is hosting NFL Now and NFL Network, like the afternoon news program for a couple hours a day, my day job prepares me for my Sunday job. I'm really lucky that way. So by the time I get to Sunday, I feel like I've talked all the relevant stories and information on the air for 8 hours, 10 hours on the air that week. So Sunday, you kind of have it all bouncing around in your head already. You know, you can reference that this guy was, you know, didn't practice on Wednesday and was limited Thursday, but they didn't give him an injury designation Friday, even though he's barely practiced. It's all in your head because you've reported it all week. So I'm really fortunate. Also, NFL Network gives me about a 100-page research packet every week for the shows, obviously, on the network. DIRECTV and Stats Inc., the same. So there's a lot of reading, and normally I will fly home from Thursday Night Football on Friday morning, and no matter how exhausted you are, how late the game went the night before, I pretty much try to cram the entire flight and I take all my favorite notes of the week from each game and all that research stuff, and I put it all in one email. So I maybe have about 15 bullet points that I think are relevant notes or storylines from every game. And then I go over them Sunday morning when we get there at DIRECTV in that building over there at 7 a.m.
Did you study that hard at Syracuse?
No. Sam, I was a last-second paper writer and I honest to God, in 4 years there, I never started a paper before 10 p.m. the night before it was due. Any paper of any kind.
So it trained you for this job.
And I got decent enough grades, I think, but no. I was the guy that did just enough to get the BB+.
Isn't it funny when you're procrastinating like that? You'll do your roommate's laundry before you start your paper.
Oh, I would never do my roommate's laundry. I would never touch that. But yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
I somehow pulled it off, and I do often look back and go, well, you know, if you had done more homework in high school, maybe your life would have been different. I like how it turned out for the most part. Like, you know, if you had actually done your homework, I live in the past.
You've got a very familiar relationship with the audience. There are unclenched sort of this open, almost feels like a conversation. Even in some inside jokes or comments or holdovers from the last week. Do you feel totally relaxed in that situation?
I do. I also, you know, you always want to make it inclusive, and you never want to go too far inside where someone isn't getting what it is you're talking about. I also, I don't want to be too snarky, and sometimes I've tried to pull it back a little bit because I think a couple of years ago there's so much snark on social media that people pass off as analysis. It's not analysis. It's just you being a jerk, right? You think you're funny. You want to jump to Twitter, and I've been guilty at times, with the best and fastest one-liner for whatever it is we're all collectively watching, whatever game that is that day. And I think sometimes I used to do that a little bit too much as well on the air, and I'm trying to pull back a little bit from that as well. At the same time, I mean, there are a million things that happen every Sunday. It's the world's greatest reality show where, I mean, you know this, you may drive home from SoFi on Sunday night or wake up Monday morning and go, wow. Maybe not the Rams game or the Chargers game, but I had no idea. Like, if you had told me that was going to be the storyline today, like this team rallied from down 20 or that team blew a 20-point lead or that coach got fired or how the heck does that guy that's never dropped a pass in the end zone with the game on the line? There are so many of those every week that there are going to be natural reactions in the moment that we would all have sitting on the couch. So I want those to come out because I know the people watching are probably having the same reactions. At the same time, you have to stay professional. And I'm thinking, like, what would Joe Buck say if he was calling the game? Would he be that snarky? Or what would Costa say? Or what would Michael say? They're calling the game professionally. Don't be an ass over here just because you have every game on and you think that you could, you know, be a stand-up comedian, which you're clearly not.
You talked about the unpredictable nature, particularly this season. We got a 4-seed Rams.
Yeah, 2 4 seeds.
Yeah, and I wrote off the Bengals every step of the way. Here they are in the Super Bowl. It almost seems scripted that you have the Rams in their own Super Bowl first year with fans at SoFi Stadium. Is this astounding to you when you walk by? Just talking to Kevin Demoff, he sees the Rams logo at Super Bowl, and I think he still finds it surreal.
I think everything with this weekend, and it does kind of scare me a little bit, is setting up so perfectly well for the Rams. Even last night with Andrew Whitworth winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, with Cooper Kupp winning the Offensive Player of the Year Award, 3rd-round pick, 69th overall pick. I mean, Cooper Kupp was a guy that ran horribly at the Combine, and the Rams were thrilled. As you know, you've told this story that he ran slow and that everyone would pass on him, and here he is. Didn't play in the previous Super Bowl. Now he's ready to play. His teammate Robert Woods blew his knee out. Did play in 53, but can't play in 56. There are so many forces coming together. I hate the cliche, it's a Hollywood script, but it does seem that way. At the same time, Joe Burrow has never lost a postseason game, ever. And they have rallied back so many times that part of me, in full disclosure, I am biased. I've worked for the Rams for a decade in other capacities. I am full Rams here, but a little bit anxious because Joe Burrow is that good.
Yep. And Matthew Stafford, tell me your thoughts on how he's come along. It was that mystifying 3-game stretch where he had the 3 pick-sixes, and he's so accurate, pinpoint accurate, so much of the time, and yet a few of those interceptions seemed really sloppy.
The Titans game comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, in primetime. They were 0 for November. They figured it out. The thing, I commend this team and that coach and that quarterback for, it all turned when they went on the road on that Monday night with all those COVID cases, and they beat Arizona, a team that had come here and beaten them obviously early in the season, really physically beat them that day at SoFi. And when you saw, was it Jalen and Odell
Higbee.
Like the list of players, that's when Omicron was hitting, and they were one of the first teams that were just devastated. There was no way they should have won that game. But they got through that game, then they got through the next one, again with a short bench, and then all of a sudden, it snapped. Like, it clicked, rather, and they were there. And he's a huge part of it. Like, if not, think about it, if not for that 3-game stretch, he could be the MVP last night. Statistically, at least.
Right.
If not for that, if they win 2 out of 3, and he doesn't throw those picks, he's the MVP, I think.
Yeah.
I think they're validated just getting here, but I know that the narrative will instantly change if they don't win on Sunday.
Earlier today, Andre Reed was saying he thinks it will be an unknown who stepped up. Like we see, under the radar players have a big Super Bowl and really help their team in a huge way. Who might be that unknown be? If it were the Rams, might it be a Blanton or a Van Jefferson? Who do you think has that potential?
It could be either of those. I think A'Shawn Robinson or Sebastian Joseph Day are good picks on the D-line as well. A'Shawn's been, an unsung hero all season. His last year with COVID, it all kind of got messed up for him. This year, he's exactly what they thought they were getting when they signed him. And Sebastian Joseph Day, when he got injured, and it should have been a season-ending injury, but the season hasn't ended. When he got injured, he was as good the PFF grades, as good a run-stopping interior D lineman as there was in football. The numbers would show. So if he gets in the backfield, if he strips Joe Mixon, I think he could be that guy. But I love the Kendall Blanton pick because he is why I love this team. It has so much star power, but it has so many other guys that were mid-round picks or late-round picks, or in his case, an undrafted free agent that have stepped up late. He's been cut 3 times. So training camp 19, 20, 21. Undrafted guy out of Missouri. All 3 training camps, he was cut on the final cuts, released on the final cuts. Came back on the practice squad and has been basically on and off the practice squad. Signed, release, activated, back on the practice squad, COVID list, signed, release, for 3 years nonstop. And all of a sudden, he scores a touchdown in the Bucs game. He gets a big 3rd down late in that game as well. They ran a flea flicker to him. Now, it was like the last option check down, right, in the NFC Championship game, but he caught 5 passes in that game. And now with Higbee out, I mean, what a story. Because with all the star power, if you don't have those guys, they are not here. It's like you had Shaq and Kobe, but you needed the other guys. You had LeBron and AD, but you needed the other guys. All those other guys deserve a lot more respect and attention.
How about a couple other stories? Eric Weddle. I mean, coming off his couch, 2 years. Clearly, he wasn't on the couch. Metaphorically, he was.
He was coaching Pee Wee, right?
But he kept himself in shape. Clearly.
Yeah, and when they signed him, I didn't think he was going to play. Like, I think when they signed him, they assumed they would get Taylor Rapp back from concussion protocol that first week and wouldn't have to play him. It was emergency. Well, they played him, and he played 19 plays. And then the next week, he's playing 69 plays. Like, it's an amazing story. I don't know that you could find another story like it. I mean, can you think of anything comparable?
Guy coming back and contributing.
2 years off.
Yeah.
Showing up for the playoffs, right? And then potentially winning a ring. And he had a great career before.
Yeah. Cam Akers.
Yeah.
That's another remarkable story. Tore his Achilles right before camp. When did you get rumblings that he might be coming back?
I guess mid-season. I thought, so I had originally been told the reason they hadn't, there was some list, there was some place they could have put him, some list where there was a service time issue and they were trying to do him a solid. And then well, maybe he can come back. But nobody comes back from an Achilles in mid-July. It's like a week before camp. It's remarkable. Again, I'm not Dr. Elatrosh here, but I can't think of anyone who's ever done that. And then they give him 5 carries week 17. All of a sudden, next week he's getting 23 carries. So they haven't shied away from using him.
Andrew Whitworth wins Walter Payton Man of the Year last night. Very stirring speech, and that's a guy that you've known well and worked with. What are your thoughts on that?
It's so well-deserved, and it's more than just everything he does here in LA. It's like 20 years of community service in his native Louisiana and in Cincinnati, and then here with the Rams. He doesn't want the attention. I know we say that a lot. Oh, don't bring the cameras. He was reluctant, from what I understand, to even be put up for the award. He got put up for the award. He won the award. He'd been nominated in the past. He is as selfless a guy as you will meet. And that Derek Barnes story about the rookie linebacker for the Lions was great.
Yeah. Is this like jet fuel for the fan base in terms of growing the fan base in Los Angeles? Obviously, getting that foothold has been difficult for both franchises. But you see the Rams winning the championship game here. Obviously, what happens in the Super Bowl will really matter, but the stadium, do you feel like it will get that boost that they've been looking for?
I think it does really matter if they win. I think the opportunity, Robert Wood said this a couple of days ago, you know, Gardena and Sarah High School and SC, I feel horrible for him that they finally, I mean, it's not just a home game. It is a home game for him, but he's out with the ACL. And he said that, you know, we're a city of champions. We're a city that only wants champions. We've all heard this before. But he thinks it is their moment to get as many fans as possible. That this is their moment to connect and to lock these fans in, especially the young fans. So I do think. And Josh Palmer, the Chargers wide receiver, who's great, just a rookie Canadian kid living in Los Angeles, he even said on NFL Network last week, he's like, oh, well, trouble finding Charger gear in stores. Now you're never going to find Charger gear. A little bit of an exaggeration. But I think I understood what he was saying. Like, you win a Super Bowl, you're going to have a lot of people following you.
Can you imagine how torturous it would be to the Rams if it were the Chargers in the Super Bowl right now, winning the first Super Bowl? And so
I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a rivalry here, but you want both teams to succeed, clearly.
Right.
Obviously, it's great that we have two teams. It's fantastic that we have a game, and that building deserves a game every Sunday. We have more than enough people that live in Southern California to support those two teams. So next year we get them in the regular season at SoFi, the Charger home game.
Lastly, I just want to ask about your Super Bowl week, because I've seen you everywhere around town. I mean, you're pulled in every direction now.
We all are, Sam. Come on.
Yeah, it's very busy, but you do a remarkable job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell me about these last few days. How do you prepare for the game, and just what's your week like?
Same thing. Great NFL Network research staff, certainly. I think what's cool for us, like the league and the NFL media group, is that this is a home game, like with our building and everything is right there. So NFL Network moved from Culver City, as you know, down to Inglewood this year, and that building opened up late in the summer around training camp. And, you know, I sit in a newsroom every day where outside my window is SoFi, maybe 50 yards across the patio, if that, probably less than that. So it's been a circus, because after the NFC Championship game, obviously the security perimeter goes down. A little bit of a hassle to get in and out of the building, but we're thrilled to show off our office, if you will, and our workspace. So I've done a bunch of shows there. Did a show downtown Radio Row last week, or yesterday rather. We did a show today that was kind of cool. They that lake, you know, it's not very shallow, but that body of water there on the southwestern corner. For NFL Honors last night, they built like a plexiglass stage on top of the water. So Brian Baldinger and I did a 3-hour show. It was hot as Hades. On top, we had a desk or chairs, whatever, on top of the plexiglass with the water underneath our feet, with the stadium in the background. I mean, my job's awful. I hate it. So that was cool.
I heard there's a shark in that.
Well, that was the running joke. Our director said, if you screw up, I'm going to hit a button and you're going to drop you into the water. And there's sharks down there. They were with laser beams. But thankfully, that did not happen. And last night went to honors, and tonight just bouncing around seeing some friends.
Well, thanks for the great work, Andrew, and I really appreciate you coming on the Hall of Farmer. And
you guys, it's not
keep a straight
you know
face.
Sam has water bottles with his name on them. I mean, this is just, the kitchen's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sam, for you, always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Enjoy. Hopefully you get some time to breathe.
Yeah.
Super Bowl weekend.
You as well.
Thank you, sir.